With the main two big bads of Minecraft being the Ender Dragon of the End and the Nether's Wither, there's some pretty tough bosses in vanilla Minecraft to tackle, but some of us have defeated them many times over, and it's fun to explore the other bosses that the modding community has on offer for us to try. These mods add weird and wonderful bosses with cool abilities and appearances that spice up your game and bring you a brand new challenge. Modular Bosses. A mod created to bring large-scale complex bosses to the game for RPG purposes, this mod is highly configurable and introduces some fresh new challenges for the player. There is the Paragon Robot, which is a huge mechanic construct that can slam on the ground, the Sandworm that can eat the player and transfer them into their stomach, where they must escape and battle through various enemies inside. There's the Tatters, which is a scythe-wielding hooded figure who can throw its weapon, the Golem, a monster formed from glass that throws its blocks, the wolf-like Shade Howler that lunges the player and shoots supersonic waves at you, the Moldorn Worm that weaves around but cannot go through blocks, and the Chorp and Heavy Chorp, which fire sticky slime at the player. Infernal Mobs. The Infernal Mobs mod aims to add special mobs that have unique buffs and abilities to the game that provide an additional challenge over the average monsters. There's a huge list of new abilities that add things like extra speed, weakness, poison, wither and regeneration for an example. Bosses within the game using this mod become far more powerful, especially the wither for an example and various other third-party bosses from mods, including if you use this mod in the Hexit Modpack for an example. The bosses are open to become supercharged, gaining additional health points, bonuses and brand new abilities to make them far more harder and slightly more durable. Lycanites Mobs. Adding north of over 100 brand new mobs to the game's biomes and dimensions, this mod is a famous creature mod that brings peaceful and hostile animals to the game. There's simply too much content in this mod to cover in a short window, so make sure to check out my Lycanites Mobs mod showcase on my channel to see more of the mod. As for the bosses, there are two main bosses added in this mod. The first is Asmodeus, which is based off of the same character from the Doom games, who is the master of the demonic invasion. You can summon him via his altar during a boss event, and he has 3 different phases. The second and last boss of the mod, also aptly named after its Doom counterpart, is Rehovart. This guy is the lord of the underworld, and it's a boss mob who also has 3 phases and can be summoned using the Rehovart altar. These bosses are huge and have awesome looking particles and battle arenas around them to fight them in. Mowzie's Mobs. Mowzie's Mobs adds a collection of different fictional creatures and mobs into Minecraft, and the great thing about this particular mod is that it has fairly complex AI behaviour and great animations for each and every mob. There's a variety of different mobs in the mod, although I'll specifically be covering only the tougher ones, which act like mini-bosses. First up is the Ferrous Rortsnauts, which is a lost armoured entity which you can find underground. These guys drop their helmet and axe for the player to equip, which has special attacks and bonuses, and they're pretty tough to fight, so make sure you have space when battling them. Barakoa the Sun Chief is the chief of the Barakoa tribe, which is made up of small high-pitched humanoids which spawn alongside him in the Barakoa village structures in the mod. This guy can use solar flares, beams and other sun-based attacks to attack his enemies, dropping his soul visage mask upon death, which gives you the ability to control his followers. Frostmoor is a large dangerous beast that you'll find in the snowy areas of the game that guard ice crystals and use winter energy to their advantage. Mutant Creatures. The Mutant Creatures mod is a huge mod released many years ago that you might have seen in countless YouTube videos. This mod is super unique, and it's one that adds a few bosses inspired by the various vanilla entities. The only difference is that these mini bosses are completely buffed up versions of them, offering a much bigger challenge, but also bigger rewards. There's a Mutant Enderman that has 4 arms and can pick up multiple blocks at once, a Mutant Creeper that's absolutely huge in comparison to the original one, and also the most popular juiced up zombie that's an absolute unit. He has a ground smash ability and is pretty imposing. Dungeons mod. The Dungeons mod is a simple Minecraft RPG mod that aims to introduce some more challenging bosses that are vanilla friendly into Minecraft. Along with the 14 core new mobs from the mod, it offers 6 different new bosses to battle, which includes the Deserted, which is a desert boss, the Iron Slime, the Kraken, the King, the Crawler and the Sun. There's also a few other mini bosses added in the seasonal update since the mod was released. CyclopsTek. If you're aware of the Techtopia Villagers mod by YouTuber and mod creator TangoTek, then you might like his Cyclops mod that adds a brand new Cyclops boss mob to the game. These guys live on small remote islands, rare landmasses in the middle of ocean biomes. When you get close to an island with a Cyclops, you'll see a boss health bar which will notify you of its proximity. Once you board the island, you'll descend into its cave below and prepare to fight the boss, where you'll have a tough battle as he initiates a flurry of 3 different attack types. This boss is immune to fire and fairly resistant to arrows too, and most important of all, he even has an eye beam, so be super careful because this does a lot of damage. Advent of Ascension. One of the largest action-adventure RPG mods for Minecraft in terms of dimension mods is Advent of Ascension. It's a huge and extensive mod housing 22 different dimensions, each having mobs, structures, blocks and items. There's a lot to do in this RPG mod, but it's also a great boss mod because there's a lot of bosses scattered throughout this mod, 35 to be exact. The amount of variation with the bosses in this mod is really nice. You'll see tree type bosses, insect looking bosses, mounted flying ones, kings, weird and wonderful creatures and so much more. I've never seen as many diverse bosses in a mod than in AOA, the Conjurer. I featured this mod previously in one of my older lists, but I thought it deserved to be shown as a boss mod here again. The Conjurer is a mod that adds a magician style illager boss of the same name, more so a mini boss of sorts. These guys can be found in the new theatre structure, which is housed deep within roofed forest biomes. But beware, as you fight him, you'll realise he has some tricks up his sleeve. The theatres have random variants of rooms which are switched up by the mod's generator, and you'll sometimes find mobs like pillagers, vindicators and witches, or even illusionists sitting in the seats in the audience watching. You can get the boss's hat when you defeat him, which is a fashionable item that's dyeable to change the band's colour, and you can also get up to 4 emeralds as the loot drops. Twilight Forest. The Twilight Forest mod is one of the most well-known and popular Minecraft dimension mods out there. It's a dimension mod with heavy focus on exploration and adventure, where you find strange creatures, explore deep dungeons with diverse mechanics and bosses, and find interesting items and loot with different traits and functions. The reason this mod took place on this list is that it actually has some fairly diverse and interesting boss fights which are part of the mod's progression. Each biome with the Twilight Forest dimension has its own separate bosses to tackle. They include the Naga that spawn in Naga courtyards, the Twilight Lich that you can find in Lich towers, the Mino Shroom which spawns on the 2nd floor of labyrinth structures in clearings, the Hydra in their Hydra lair, the Urghast that spawns above dark towers in the Dark Forest, the Alpha Yeti that can be found in Yeti lairs in the Snow Forest, the Snow Queen in the Galatia's Aurora Palace, and the Cyclops in the sky, as well as the Thorn Monster in the Thorn Forest. There's a ton of unique and wonderful bosses to tackle throughout the series of steps that you take in this mod. The Ultimate Ore mod. This mod has some really sweet items and blocks, but the main reason for this particular feature is the looming Dark Opal Demon boss that's a large Ender Dragon looking beast with wings and hind legs, a large presence with 2500 health, 8 defense and a range of different attacks which range from jumps, shooting of skulls, punches that apply blinding, life drain, dark bombs and the ability to summon its own minions. This tough boss gains a shield when it's below half health, which will repel projectiles, sending out pulses of dark energy when dying that will darken the screen and cause nighttime, corrupting nearby animals at finality. But if you defeat it, you will get the Dark Staff weapon drop. Hermaeus Mora. If you're familiar with the Elder Scrolls lore, you'll know that Hermaeus Mora is the Daedric Prince of Fate, Knowledge and Memory, appearing as a wave of tentacles. This aberration boss has a secret form in a floating shape, and there's an overworld shrine that can spawn with black books within. There's even different Oblivion gates that will spring up around the world that you can actually tackle and face. The Trap of Moloch Bol Shrine will entrap mobs as sacrifices, and there's other structures around the world like Dwemer Ruins and Elven Villages, and you can even wield different Dragon Priest masks like in Skyrim, and even Mirax from the Dragonborn DLC. This is a must-have mod for any Elder Scrolls fan, and I'm really surprised and impressed by the range of different content here, primarily being focused on the backlore of the main protagonist or antagonist in the Dragonborn Skyrim DLC. brutal bosses. With this mod, you will now encounter spawning bosses within dungeons with over 24 different boss variants, which are based off of existing vanilla entities, bosses that use custom abilities, stats, and unique AI behavior, and drop different tiered loot sets, making each one a different and unique challenge to one another. Each of these different bosses are created through a data pack method, which means they're fully customizable, meaning you can actually add new bosses yourself quite easily from basically any different entity in vanilla or from any other running mod in the load order. All you have to do is jump into the files and make a config of your own and tinker around with the different features, and you can make an awesome little mini boss which will spawn in a dungeon that you can face and fend off with. MagmaFurnace. If you want fun and unique different bosses, look to this mod for that content. There are bosses from the Queen on its giant throne, the Frozen Yeti with its eye sweep attacks, and the bone creature Arcaneum, to name a few. There's an amazing range of different bosses in this mod, with each having their own unique custom models and behavior. Although I haven't particularly done a huge coverage on this mod in this list, the bosses' visuals are of the highest quality, and I really recommend checking it out because the actual lore behind these bosses and the unique names are really cool. Halloween Nightmare. This mod adds a new boss to the game, the Halloween Nightmare, a boss made in a vanilla style that's more balanced, one that you don't want to encounter during the nighttime, especially as it glows. This 150 health point boss does 15 damage and it has 6 armor points. It will do a root attack damage that can poison you, and it will go into a charged state below half HP and absorb 60% damage. You can spawn this boss through making a totem out of 3 different oak leaves, 1 glow pumpkin lantern and glowstone in the same exact structure as an iron golem shape. Once you do this, the boss will spawn and the fight begins. The Arcaneum. Within the below, you will encounter the most evil monsters a warped mind could think of, monsters that would bring eternal chaos and an end to the world. The Cyclops dangerous creature is found in caves from deep within, a dangerous sight for any miner. The spiked wheel of flesh has rotten away for a millennia and is hell-bent on growing larger. Masu, an ancient celestial and protector of Earth, is now an evil monstrosity. There's other bosses not featured here, but the ultimate one in here in terms of the backstory to it is the creator himself, who plots his revenge and is the creator of Masu. But how can you stop the creator himself? Undefeatables. Now forget bosses, let's focus upon mini bosses, a little less challenging but still all the more fun, with these guys still having boss bars and special effects to worry about. There's a 1 in 250 chance that a mob will be infected with supreme powers, in a tier system ranging from 1 to 4, being weakest to strongest, increasing their health and armor value as well as their speed and attack damage. It's really cool to encounter seemingly normal mobs, but ones that have custom RPG style names to them, custom coloured boss bars with floating NPC icons and particles, and special different drops which are based upon their boss tier. For an example, tier 1 bosses drop iron, tier 2 drop iron or diamond, tier 3 drop diamond, and tier 4 drop diamond, netherite or enderium mod equipment if you're using that mod along with this one in your game's mod loader. This is a really nice little mod which adds some more exploration value. Mutant Wolf. The Mutant Wolf mini boss is a speed demon with 150 HP, aka 75 hearts. He will do 10 damage each hit, and he has a loot table of both bones and gold when killed, with a rare chance of getting the special Mutant Wolf armor drop. This mini boss has 1 armor toughness, and 1 knockback resistance. In order to summon this boss, one has to kill a wolf whilst holding a bone in the main or offhand slot, consuming it and spawning this wolf as it launches into the air before initiating combat directly with the player. This one is a little bit tough and fierce to face, but he's not particularly a really overpowered boss, but he still poses a real challenge when you face him. I especially like little mods like this because they don't focus on a huge large plethora of different mobs and bosses. They focus on maybe 1 or 2 and add them in, but they're extremely high quality regardless of the small quantity of features. Idolizing. The structure that houses the idol itself can be accessed throughout a long process of finding a totem of immortality with a blast furnace to access the secret emerald key. The obelisk spawning in Dark Oak Forest is protected by illagers and evokers. As you enter with the key to open its locks, you can expect to face the guardian of the idol, a more powerful iron golem. Climbing to the top of this cryptic tower of the structure will let you face the last summoners before reaching the final idol showdown. The idol begins as the altar, but if you begin to destroy it, a golden eyeball will awaken from its sleep, initiating the main final boss fight. This mod is not just a boss, but it brings a whole progression path to reach it with specialized loot. Toad Terror. Imagine a large imposing toad within a structure. Well, that's what this mod is, a 1 boss mod which features an appropriate structure and a toad pet as a drop if you actually manage to defeat the boss. There's both the toad Toad Protector, which is slightly smaller, and also the larger Toad Sentinel mobs, which appear grey with green eyes. This is another one of those mods similar to the Mutant Wolf, which just adds 1 or 2 small mobs to the game, but what it makes up for in lack of quantity is obviously not a lack of quality, and this is a really cool mod.
you
On this list, I'd recommend pairing a few of these together just to add a huge array of different boss fights. Maybe even make a mod pack out of some of these, as long as they're on the same version of the game. And of course, that's going to conclude these boss mods of the year. Feel free to drop any boss mods down below which I didn't cover or feature here. Let me know which one of these 10 mods was your favourite below, and also why that is. YouTube says 97% of you are not subscribed, so if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications and slap the like button for more Minecraft mod videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.